Hi, my name is Yvette Young and I play guitar and I write music. I think the first sign where I was like, something is changing in my life was when that video I posted in my bedroom went viral. Like, I remember thinking, I set up the camera, I was just like, here's a song I wrote. But I cut off my face because I didn't really care. I think I looked pretty like frumpy because I didn't think anyone would see it. And then I remember waking up the next day to like hundreds of Facebook friend requests, and it had gotten it was being shared like crazy. I'm like, wow, people are for some reason sharing this video. That's really cool. But then I felt pressure immediately. I was just like, oh my God, now I have to follow this up somehow. I have to be even techier and even crazier. And like, you know, that was before I had my, you know what, who cares? Like, just make music that you enjoy and have fun. I actually didn't start on the guitar. Guitar is my newest instrument, I guess my newest flame. But I started on piano when I was 4 years old, and then I played violin in a couple orchestras. I guess the classical world was really rough and competitive. I feel like I didn't have that much of a childhood, and it was a lot of pressure for me. So I ended up getting sick from that, and I landed myself in the hospital with an eating disorder, and during that time I had to quit everything, but they did allow me to do like recreational activities as a form of self-therapy, and that's when I really decided to pour myself into playing guitar. My parents got me this starter acoustic, and I kind of just started by trying to figure out Radiohead songs by ear, and then I learned about alternate tunings and all of that, and I started to write my own music and composed a bunch of lyrics when I was sick and like recovering. And then it ended up being such an amazing outlet for me during that time, because it took my focus away from how I looked, maybe like my worth and numbers, and it instead kind of put all my attention, all my self-worth in what I could create with my hands and what I could dream up in my mind. And I really feel like it transformed me from that moment on. It kind of just made me feel like I had a voice. And yeah, in addition to that, I feel like it transformed my relationship with music in general. Like growing up with classical music, I feel like I never really did it for myself. It was kind of this thing that my parents pushed on me, and guitar was my gateway back into loving music and not associating it with competition, stress, all these things. Like, it was something that I did for myself. Because of guitar, I fell back in love with piano, back in love with violin, and nowadays I'm super grateful that I was given that foundation. You know, I never really thought about me having anything unique to say with guitar. Like, if anything, I always considered myself like an American football knockoff or something. For me, it's always been something I've done for myself, and that was really crucial. Having grown up playing music for other people and being put in competitions where I'm supposed to beat this other person because I play Chopin better, you know, I didn't get any joy from that. But I got so much joy from having it be like my own personal journey and my own journal, and as a way to document my own growth as a player. I think when I was starting a guitar, I definitely felt a lot of pressure to be like virtuosic, because it seemed like the guitar community really did embrace this like kind of like shred virtuosic sound, and I was able to do that, and it was cool. But I started realizing as soon as I was writing more music and touring that I wasn't really enjoying performing any of it, because for me, music is like a mode of expression and emotion, and when I'm sitting there too focused on hyper accuracy and just delivering like a clean sweep or something, not to say that that's not important. I think it is important to hone your chops, but I think I was spending so much time worrying about whether I was virtuosic enough and perfect enough. So for a long time I hated playing live because I would never get that perfect show. But then I started to realize that it's, for me at least, my personal journey with guitar, it's not about that. It's about expressing emotion, making people smile, bringing out feelings, telling a story, and getting people to hear that story through instrumental music. Like, that's where I get all my joy. And it's like such a wonderful therapeutic outlet for me, and I know for a lot of people. So once I started focusing on that, I learned to really love performing for people. I stopped thinking about myself. I stopped being selfish on stage. I realized that playing live is more like a transference of energy. Like, you are gifting people your energy, and if you're up there having a horrible time sweating bullets trying to nail it, that's not a show that people want to see. They can just go listen to your recording. But you're up there, you're a little slopped, play some dead notes, something on your board goes wrong. That's kind of magical, you're human, and as long as you're having fun, that's all that matters. I taught myself guitar. It's not like I had a teacher or anything, and I immediately was like, standard is cool, but I'm just gonna mess up the tuning immediately and just ignore all scales, all chord shapes. I exclusively write with my ear, and I think that's where I'm grateful, is that I never learned too many scales or too many chord shapes. Now sometimes I wish I did, because it would help me jam easier with people, but then I also kind of acknowledge that the way I play and the way I work is so not shape-based, and it's so basically melody-driven. So whatever I hear in my head, I sing, and I'm able to replicate on the fretboard. So I think that allows me to write stuff that doesn't sound that generic, because it's coming from a place where I'm singing it, and it's the melody that wants to come out rather than the melody that is convenient to come out. It feels like a superpower when I'm able to translate what's living in here, the stories, the characters, when I'm able to use the guitar as my vessel, and pedals and stuff as a way to enhance that story, kind of a way to produce my melody. I used to kind of give this the first consideration, and then this was an afterthought, but now I feel like I'm at a point where they grow together and they communicate together and they talk to each other, and it's I'm giving them equal consideration. And I just been loving using sounds that aren't very guitar focused. I anticipate a lot of my solo material will be more inspired by almost electronic production, not having a chorus on for the whole song, but more just having moments, almost if you were to comp something, but I want to do it kind of organically. And I've been really into stuff that kind of just takes me out of my perfectionism. I really love things like sequencers, or things that kind of granularize what I'm playing, so that it's not really me playing a specific melody, but it takes it and it randomizes it and sequences it up so that it's this wonderful texture. And then I find so much inspiration in that randomness. And I'm a control freak, and anything that kind of forces me to surrender that and listen instead of trying to impose my way, that's what I'm really, really fascinated with right now. I actually never had that thing where I was I really want to be a professional guitarist. I never had that thought. If anything, I wanted to be a tattoo artist, or I wanted to paint in a gallery, but life kind of had a different idea for me, and it pushed me in this direction. And now I'm discovering, I'm at a point where I'm oh, I have to be a guitarist for a living. And what I mean by that is not oh, it's such a burden, but more I have to think like a business person now. And that's another thing that kind of changes when you start doing your passion as a career, is you can't have the same lackadaisical go with the flow attitude. Yes, you can retain some of that, but you also have to think of it like a 9-to-5 almost, and think of your time as investments, and you have to think of how to make a living. And yeah, that's a whole deep conversation. I could do a whole clinic on that, but I think a really important question for every player to ask themselves is, what do you want out of your journey with music? Do you want to be a musician for a living? Go for it, but just do your research and really read up on the business side, because I think it's important to be armed with that information before you start entrusting your art form to other people. If the answer is you just want to have a good time and have fun, it doesn't have to be your career. You can actually find a great way to balance working with making time for your passion still, and I think sometimes the magic will be preserved. Endorsements are only good when it's a mutual thing, because I think when you organically adore something, you'll use it all the time, and companies can benefit from that too. So it doesn't have to be this transactional weird thing. That organic authenticity thing that I'm kind of trying to get at here is really important to me. It's crazy, I've lost count of the years, but I think I'm going on 5 years with D'Addario. What I've really enjoyed about it is it's always kind of just felt like working with friends and I've just enjoyed, their values in general. I think they do support artists and people who value art and creativity, and I think that aligns with a lot of what I want personally for my guitar journey. I am obsessed with my D'Addario Flex Capo. It's in this cool orange color that they made for me. I really like this spring. You can adjust the tension, and I find that it does stay put, which is really important when you play live. I've gotten the privilege of designing a custom art strap with D'Addario. It's vegan leather, so no animal products. My background is largely in visual arts, so I was really excited to be able to draw a pattern that would look good repeating on a black strap. So yeah, that's the one I use live. Strings have a lot to do with your tone. The NYXLs for me have always tonally been great. I feel like they kind of remain, at least what I perceive with my pickups and stuff, like bright and warm at the same time. I learned that I really don't like something that doesn't have any friction, because it depends on the way you play. Some people like flat wound, some people like round wound, some people like nickel, some people, there's so many different options. But for me, I really need that friction to feel my slides. I depend on that friction even for accuracy. If I don't have it, it feels a little bit like skating on ice, and trying to be precise while skating. I do a lot of tapping and stuff, so I kind of go for, I had a dark period in my life where I was just like, I play 13s now, and my fingers hated me for that. But I did that because I was just like, I'm so annoyed that when I tap, everything gets bent out of tune. But then I ended up downgrading to 11s, and now I play the 1156 set, NYXLs. But yeah, I really enjoy kind of just not too light, not too heavy, just that middle point, because I can still get that accuracy when I'm tapping. But I started bending recently. I know it's crazy, so far into my guitar career, and I just discovered that bends are sick. Yeah, I started doing that more, and I really needed something that did have more give, and again, that friction helps me control the bends. I probably shouldn't admit this on video, but I don't really change my strings all that often on tour because I just don't find that I need to. My strings just kind of stay really defined and sparkly. I'm really optimistic about the future of guitar. I think for a while people were getting a little bit cynical about it because they were only thinking about it in the context of guitar as the history of guitar has been, but with new technology and more people being interested in production as well, and with me being exposed to even more kinds of music, I think people just need to see that you don't have to make a guitar sound like a guitar. Like, this is, again, just a vessel for whatever sound you choose to put through it. You can make this sound like a whale. You can make this sound like a sitar. You can make it sound like bagpipes. Like, any crazy sound you can imagine, it's out there, and this is just how you play it. So I think as long as we have the attitude of inclusivity, open-mindedness, forward progression, I think that a lot of people will be inspired to pick up this instrument. Because, I'm not gonna lie, it does feel good to play around and dance with it. It's a very portable instrument, it has broad appeal for that reason. But yeah, I think more and more people are seeing that you can be quite experimental and inventive with how you use it, and I can't wait to see what kinds of music people are going to write with it. Especially because, all kinds of people are drawn to it. It's no longer just like a boy's world, Everyone can play guitar. Your grandma can play guitar. I hope she does.